If you don't have this set up correctly, it is the most surefire way to annoy the hell out of your contacts, increase unsubscribes, and ultimately tarnish your brand reputation. So what I'm talking about today is some account settings that you need to make sure that you have set up to stop people from receiving too many emails within a certain period of time. Now, especially if you're a smaller brand or if you still manage this in-house and don't have someone that's designated to look after your email marketing, then there's a good chance that this is happening at some level. So let's jump straight into it. Now, what I'm talking about today is, at least within Klaviyo, we like to call it flow mapping or flow architecture. And simply put, we're just trying to map out or determine how we're going to prioritize the delivery of certain flows over other flows. So when this is set up wrong, people can go through multiple different flows or automated emails at once and end up receiving a ton of emails. Like just recently, we went through an account and this account had dozens of people receiving more than 7 emails in 3 days. And this account was actually currently being managed by a pretty big or well-known email marketing agency here in Australia, and even they were getting it wrong, which I find crazy because it's a very simple fix. It's pretty obvious, but people just don't do it. So the first thing I'm going to cover here is how to diagnose this, how to actually tell if people are receiving too many emails within your account. The easiest way to do this in Klaviyo is literally by creating this segment. So if you go into Klaviyo, create a new segment, and then paste this prompt into the Klaviyo defined AI prompt, then it'll make this for you. And this is simply gathering all the people that have received more than 7 emails in the past 4 days. So this is a good indicator for you to be able to see if this flow architecture isn't set up correctly in your account and people are receiving too many emails. But create this baseline level, see if anyone's in it, and then go into their specific activity log within the profile. So click in the profile, click activity log, search for received emails, and you'll be able to see exactly which emails they've received in what order and which different flows they've received in what order and how it's happened. Usually what happens is accounts will have set up a browse abandonment, checkout abandonment, cart abandonment, welcome flow, all these different pre-purchase flows. And if they aren't exclusive of each other, if a person opts into the brand via the welcome flow and then browses the product / clicks on the product, adds the cart, goes to checkout, and then abandons that checkout, then if it's not set up correctly, the person can still be getting the welcome emails and then we'll get the browse abandonment, cart abandonment, and checkout abandonment flows all at once, which obviously is not great for the brand reputation at all. You do not want to be that brand that is sending their people 5 emails in a day or 2 days, and really it annoys the hell out of your readers and will just increase your unsubscribe rates dramatically and get people leaving your brand before they've even had a chance to purchase. So by doing this, or by creating this segment, we're able to quickly identify if this is a major issue in the account. I recommend once you do this, play with this segment and change it to 3 days, 7 days, 5 days, 2 days, 1 day, and then change the amount of emails just to basically see if people are receiving more than 1 email per day across your entire account and exactly how it's happening. So for some examples, or in some situations, it is needed. For example, if someone creates a new account or they become a subscriber and they just recently seen a campaign, they click the campaign, purchased from the campaign and become a product subscriber to subscribe to receive the product every month or 4 weeks or whatever. If that's happened, then they would have to have received the campaign, a thank you post-purchase email, and then maybe some sort of subscription post-purchase setup email or information email. So in certain instances that does happen, but you just want to check this now and go through all the different people that are in a segment like this. Hopefully it's not too many, like 5 or 7 or 10 or 20 or less, and make sure that all the different instances are accounted for and that each instance is happening on purpose rather than people who are accidentally falling into multiple flows at once and receiving a ton of emails. After this is done, and if you do this, and you find people receiving too many emails from in different situations, then what you have to do is actually integrate this mapping / flow prioritization process. So here's how we like to do it. We tend to split it into pre and post-purchase flows, as people will typically be in one of these 2 camps, and we're usually excluding or treating people within the pre-purchase flows differently if they're already past buyers. Now, next you want to prioritize each of the flows. So this is an example. Welcome flow should be prioritized, especially if you're giving someone something in the welcome flow, such opt-in form. So if they're opting in for a 50% off discount code and you only give them that code in the first email, then you need to make sure they actually receive that code or within the first SMS. Next, abandoned cart or checkout abandoned. So typically you would prioritize checkout and then cart abandoned and then browse abandoners. as you obviously want to target the most buyer intent behavior when it comes to only sending one of these flows. And then lastly, campaigns. So we put campaigns here because we don't want people to be receiving welcome flow emails and campaigns at the same time, or necessarily abandoned cart emails and campaigns at the same time if we're sending a large amount of campaigns or sending campaigns 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. Within post-purchase, the first thing we typically want to prioritize here is the consumption or the thank you emails. Here's how to use your product. Here's some more information about your product to help you use it better, more recipes, guides, ebooks, value, etc. So within a flow like this, we're trying to give them as much value as we can to help them use the products that they have in the best way possible and to give them the best user experience as possible. After this, post-purchase upsell, cross-sell, win back, and then campaigns again. But the issue that I'm talking about today isn't usually as prevalent within these post-purchase flows. It can be for multi-product stores and marketplace stores where there's lots of different types of product people are buying, and all the products have different usage times, as in the amount of time it takes for someone to use all the product and need to buy more. Again, we work within health supplement brands primarily. So this is largely designed around health supplement brands where most of the products are recurring or reoccurring or subscription type products. But first thing you want to do is just prioritize which flows you have sending at the moment or which flows you want to have set up, so you know in the next step how to actually implement this strategy. And then an overarching theme here, we normally want to prioritize post-purchase flows rather than pre-purchase flows, because typically the information or the marketing that we're sending to buyers or past buyers is more important than the marketing / information we're sending to leads. Next bit is implementation. So here's an example of how this is done and all the different variables that you need to think of. So you can use this and kind of get an idea as to what you should be considering within each of the flows. So you can then populate this across the rest of your account without me having to necessarily show you exact examples for every single flow within your account. So this is for a browser abandonment flow, where the things we're trying to do are, 1, take out people who have triggered the behavior triggers of the next flows in this sort of sequence. So if someone browses a product but then also abandons the checkout, we want to make sure that people who abandon checkout get taken out of this flow immediately, because they're either going to get the abandonment checkout flow or they're going to purchase and go into the post-purchase flow. So we want to make sure that we're excluding all the other behaviors around this flow specifically that would cause someone to receive more than one flow at a time. So the other side of this is people who've placed an order. We don't want people who've placed an order since starting this flow to remain in this flow. So if people place an order within this flow, they're obviously going to be put into the post-purchase flow, and we don't want them to be receiving this browser abandonment flow anymore, quite obviously. And this is usually something people understand and have set up. For this client specifically, we don't want recent purchases to be going through this flow. So we've excluded 30-day recent buyers from going into this flow at all. Furthermore, their welcome flow definitely takes prioritization over this flow. So we exclude people who've received an email from this flow within the past 4 days. So they get to go through this entire welcome flow, have 4 days, and then they start receiving emails like this. Next, again, we want to stop people who are currently in the abandoned cart flow. So within this account specifically, it's on a checkout trigger from receiving these emails. So we're just stopping people from being in these 2 flows at once via both this flow filter, profile filter, and then also this flow profile filter up here. Furthermore, we don't want people to be able to go straight from the abandoned cart flow straight into the browser abandonment flow if they're still being active on the website, but they're not buying for some reason. So within this account specifically, we don't want this happening within 14 days. Now, the amount of time you want to leave between people receiving more than one flow at a time or going from one flow into another flow that's within the pre-purchase environment is also dependent on your brand. So within this account specifically is a single product brand where they only have one product. So this is kind of on the extreme end as to how long we want to leave between people finishing one flow and going into the next flow, because they're all going to be talking about the same thing. So as this product is a health supplement brand and are selling health supplement products that are recurring, subscription options are available, so people can subscribe to receive this email recurringly. And we obviously do not want current subscribers to be receiving their abandoned cart browser abandonment emails because they're already subscribed. So this will stop that from happening, and then furthermore, the recent buyers filter up here will also stop this from happening to an extent as well. But there's kind of a double filter here to make sure that people don't do this in any case, as this is also especially important. Furthermore, we don't want people to go back into this flow if they just come out of it. So we don't want this flow just keep going and cycling again and again. as some brands have set up. So what we've done here is included this condition that people have not been in this flow in the past 14 days in order for them to go back into this flow again. But all of these settings here are quite conservative when it comes to the frequency as to how often we're emailing people, and that's how we typically like to do it within the flows and within the pre-purchase flows especially. If you are sending valuable or consistent campaigns that people actually like, interact with and get value from, then we're best served by not overly peppering them with the emails within the flows, because if we can keep them engaging with the campaigns long term, then it increases our likelihood of that we'll get them to make a buying decision eventually, rather than trying to really pepper them now with all these flow emails to make them decide whether or not they want to buy. Because when you do that, when you do send too many emails too quickly to a lead, especially that hasn't even bought before, then it increases the likelihood of them unsubscribing or at least tarnishing your brand reputation in their own mind. Now, all these things should be considered within every flow that you create. So do this for the abandoned cart flow, Brad's abandonment, of course, welcome flow, post-purchase. All these flows, you need to be considering which people should be within different flows and how all of these segments or how all of these conditions dictate people's behavior. One rule of thumb is you definitely don't want people to be in a pre-purchase and a post-purchase flow at one time. An easy way to fix this is has placed order 0 times since starting this flow, or this other condition has placed order 0 times in the past 30 days. Furthermore, if you don't want people to be receiving that win-back flows and stuff like that, then you would also include conditions here to stop people from receiving win-back flow emails at the same time as they're receiving card emails or abandoned card emails or Brad's abandonment emails. But literally, these are all the conditions that we think of, at least internally, within our health supplement clients. And for 90% of other brands out there, these are probably the exact same conditions that you should be thinking of and considering when it comes to building out the flows within your account. And the last thing I'll talk about here is campaigns. So how do we integrate campaigns into this to stop people from receiving campaigns at the same time as they're receiving flows? The easiest way to do this, for smaller accounts especially, is to set up the simple smart sending solution. So smart sending is a setting in Klaviyo that allows you to select certain emails to have smart sending, and these emails will not get sent out to people who have received another email within whatever smart sending period you have set up. If you set this to a day, if you don't want people to be receiving more than one email per day in general, then an easy way to do this is to set up your smart sending period to 23 or 20 hours or 24 hours. And then for all the campaigns that you want sent out to everyone, but of course not sent out to people currently in flows and receiving emails recently, you simply turn on smart sending for these campaigns. And for the ones that you're sending within 24 hours or another one, then the best way to get around this is one, turn off smart sending for that specific campaign and then send it to a tighter/smaller segment. So if you're sending your main campaigns to your 6-month engaged audience or your 180-day engaged audience, which we recommend by the way, as long as you can maintain good engagement rates, then if you're sending 2 emails within a certain period, for example, if you have a sale ending and have a sale last day email and then a sale ending in 3 hours or 6 hours email, that sale ending in 3 hours or 6 hours email is probably best served going to a smaller segment of your list anyway, to people who've actually engaged with your email marketing or within your campaigns during the sale periods. For example, you would turn off smart sending for that 3 hours left campaign and only send it to 7 days or 30 days engaged rather than the full 6-month engaged list. But this is a very simple way to do this. Again, this is all pretty common knowledge, or in my mind, it all makes sense. It's very common sense, but no one actually just goes up and sets up these settings in accounts, and it leads to people's subscribers receiving way too many emails sometimes during certain behavior events. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions about this at all, feel free to reach out. I'm very happy to help out with anything like this, or you can just leave a comment in the comments below. But if you like this video, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. Cheers.